Did you enjoy working together for the second Thor movie?
Yeah,
and for the third one, because if you look at
it's the third time. Honestly, Chris is the best acting partnership I've ever had. It's acting is all about trust and what happens in the space between two people, and it's such a pleasure when it's so easy. Chris makes it very easy and very fun, and he makes me better.
It's the same thing, and we started this journey 3 years ago, and I think we sort of laugh about it now and think, God, imagine if we didn't get along. This would have been a pretty I don't know, tempestuous experience, but it's just been the best, because we get along. I don't know, we have the same interest and passion about this and love for films and the stories. So.
I'm really proud of it too. I feel like it's kind of like it's something that we've brought to the table in a way. Like you couldn't write it in a way. It's like a, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's nice.
What was?
I love you, mate.
I love you too, mate.
Can you tell us? Can you tell us what was different this time? For it was a different director, so he said a different tone, or can you describe how it was?
Yeah, I mean, he has his own artistic fingerprint, and he loved the family dynamic, wanted to shift it a bit, and his own taste about the visual texture of the film. He wanted to make Asgard look, and he wanted to get outside the palace and see where sort of more, as it were, regular Asgardians lived. So we had a training ground and a tavern and a dungeon, and so those were all of his ideas, and he was great. And I loved his interest in this particular relationship between Thor and Loki. The idea of making Loki an anti-hero and taking away Thor's compassion for Loki, so that because in the first two films, in Thor and in Avengers, Thor's decency is always appealing to Loki, saying, look, we still love you, come back. And in this film it's very different, so it's nice. It feels like an evolution. Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, everything he just said. No, but I mean, it's exactly that. I'll be repeating myself if I went into too much detail. I mean, I think all the Marvel films, none of them are in direct competition. They're all pieces of sort of a big puzzle, and I love the opportunity to play the same character with 3 different directors now, and they all have vastly different sort of ideas and opinions and inspirations, and Alan was just fantastic, and as was Joss and Ken. I couldn't pick one.
Chris, in Thor Part 1, your younger brother Liam should play the role in the first place, and then you got it. Did you punch him in the face, or did he punch you in the face, or how did Hemsworth brothers deal with disappointment?
I don't think we were disappointed. I don't think he was. He's doing pretty well anyway. He's working obviously and keeping busy. And I think the two of us was about, even my older brother, we're competitive as siblings are growing up with everything but this business, and that period when we both auditioned was never at the same time. And by the time I was auditioning, he wasn't anymore. They were moving on, and. So he was giving me advice, and he'd run the lines with me, and as I did when he was auditioning the first time. We're well aware of the range of variables as to why you get a part or not, and it's so out of your control that you just drive yourself crazy trying to control it. I think you just do your bit and roll the dice, and no, we're really supportive with this kind of stuff. No punching.
How did he react when you get the role? Say, congratulations.
Oh yeah, it's probably more excited than I was. I think that we are honestly, both my brothers, we're the best of friends. And growing up, we grew up in the bush in isolated sort of places and entertained ourselves and got up to all sorts of mischief, and we, as I said before, we're competitive in all the backyard antics and whatever. But
but 3 brothers together, is it sometimes that you always have this kind of tension with Loki and Thor have?
Well, we kick, like playing cricket, playing football, who's controlling the remote control, watching TV, surfing, whatever. Sure, yeah, there's all that kind of competitiveness, but it's you just forces you or makes you wanna I don't know, get involved and motivate one another.
You're also actually in Austrian and German cinemas with your film Rush. It's a very different movie. It's very character driven compared to Thor.
Hey, wait a second.
What is it? What drives this film?
I think it's a wide range between James Hunt and what is playing now.
I'm joking.
How do you see that this switch between two so different movies?
Yeah, that's what I love. I love the variety. My taste in movies from an audience point of view is the same. You know, I love it all, and it was really refreshing to go and do something smaller and intimate, and you know, and also to then step back into this role. I'd learnt a lot, you know, as I do with each role. I feel you take something from each one, and you know, it's another set of skills. But this is just as challenging, you know. To be honest, you're trying to ground this thing constantly. You know, there's so much going on that it's easy to drift off into this fantastical of it all. But to give it some truth and ground it in some reality is the challenge. You know, on a smaller set like that, everything's there to support you do that.
Are you a fan of racing, of Formula One?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I just can't say I haven't watched much of it, you know, and I'm not a fan. It hasn't never really been in my circle, and I did a lot of study on it, but particularly the '76 season, you know, the '70s in Formula One. So, you know,
have you heard about Niki Lauda and James Hunt before?
No, not really. No,
Really?
Nicky, yeah, but I hadn't. Not before I did the movie. No.
Have you shot the Michael Mann movie yet?
Yeah, I finished a couple of months ago.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's based in the world of cyber terrorism and takes place in Chicago, LA, Jakarta, Kuala Lumpur, Hong Kong.
Wow, sounds like James Bond.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of that. It's but very Michael Mann. You know, an amazing attention to detail and he's a you know, fascinating director. He's made some of my favourite films, and that was a exhausting shoot because it was so fast paced, just like the story was. But a lot of fun.
Question to both.
Sorry, how difficult or how light was for you to learn to love or to like your characters and to live with idea that you have to do this character for a long time?
Well, you know, it's the job of the actor to have compassion for the character that you play. You have to fight their corner. If you judge your character, you cease to be able to play them truthfully. And so the interesting thing for me specifically was to learn to love Loki in all of his misguided, broken, twisted damage, you know, and try and understand why is he so bad, what does he want, and basically you're peeling away layers of pride and ambition and greed and pain and sadness and anger. And you, like any psychologist, you get to a core of vulnerability. He feels betrayed, he feels broken, he feels cheated, and once you get to that, you realise there's a very soft centre over which is kind of armour-plated protection and horns and all these things, and I find him fascinating, and therefore I love him. So it wasn't hard.
I really have to ask about Comic-Con, probably again.
Okay. No, actually, no one's asked about it.
I would like that Chris ask us as well.
Sure, sorry. Yeah, the same thing. You've got to fight their corner, you know. And I loved his sort of sense of justice and right and wrong, and his strengths. And what always appealed to me was that sort of inner conflict he had about. You know, whether his ego needed to be in check or was out of check, and needed to learn some humility in the first one, or and also the compassion he had for Loki. You know, no matter how outrageous and chaotic he became and his actions were, Thor was constantly trying to still search for his brother in there, and I do really enjoy playing the character, and the challenge is just to find something different each time, and because we do have to do it for a long time potentially, but we never knew that from the first one. We didn't. Each time we do it, we don't know if it's going to be the last, and you just apply the same tools and motivation, I guess, each time.
So can you imagine?
Comic-Con, sorry. Yes.
So I was wondering how did the idea come about to get into full costume and go there, and how did that feel?
He was already in costume.
Amazing.
He turned up in costume.
Yeah.
He sleeps in it.
Yeah. It was just an idea. Kevin Feige is always trying to challenge himself. And Robert Downey Jr. danced up the aisle last year as Tony Stark in a sort of very theatrical manner. I am even more of a shameless exhibitionist than Robert is, and Kevin called me up and he said, "How about this as an idea?" And he said, "Would you turn up as sort of do a pastiche of Loki?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to dilute the integrity of the character that I've created, so go big or go home." And so we decided to go the biggest we could possibly imagine. And as soon as he gave me the idea, I wrote a little idea of a thing I would do, and then actually just being on stage and playing with the audience was so fun, because they were more passionate, more enthusiastic, and more involved than I could ever have imagined. It was funny, I'd always thought, well, maybe if it's going well, at the end of the show I'll get them to chant Loki's name, only if it's going well. And I walked out on stage and they just started chanting, and I was like, what am I going to do now?
That's my
that was my big crescendo. Anyway, it was just like pure entertainment, so fun. I really enjoyed it.
So can you imagine playing Thor, and can you imagine playing Loki?
I can't. I mean, I can try.
We could try and imagine it,
but I don't know if I could do it.
I have no. I couldn't do it. There you go. It'd be fun though. We joked that we could switch outfits for one scene. And
we should do like a comedy sketch or something.
Evil look. You have to teach him the evil look.
I have to teach him the evil look.
Oh, I got one.
Oh, you ski? Yeah. He also does.
Looks like a rabbit.
Looks like an angry kid.
We should do like a comedy sketch where we play all our favourite scenes, and I play Thor and you play Loki. We're gonna have you sitting at the back of the cell.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's not boring to play the hero, and I can imagine it's amazing to find out how can I be an able. How is this?
Yeah, look, I think that's the challenge. Is that the hero can slip into a bit of a fall under those restrictions that the hero has, and become predictable, and that's a challenge, to try and find new conflicts and new ways to approach it. And I look at the villain, and what Tom's done with Loki, and I mean Heath Ledger with the Joker, and you go, wow, some of the greatest characters around and performances, and I love it. And so it's something that I don't know, somewhere in my career I'd love to play the villain, but I don't get bored with Thor. No, I still find it challenging, to keep it grounded and everything. There's a yin and yang to it all. You can't. If everyone went and did one version of something, then there's no range there. There's no variety, and they all benefit each other nicely.
It's interesting as well, because of course, like as the villain, I get to cut loose and be provocative and chaotic and mischievous and to lead the film, to play Thor in Thor is an enormous responsibility, and Chris carries it so lightly, and it's much harder to be the center of something and to hold it and carry it. I'm just sort of dancing on the sidelines, but it's a monumental achievement what Chris has done, especially like this is the third time, and it's not the same character. It's developed, it's more mature, it's more complex, he's wiser, he's older.
I mean, also I think they're two halves of the same whole, the two characters. I kind of get nervous to think of Thor on his own now in something, like I think that the strongest stuff between the two characters was when they kind of team up and when they're together, and there's not many superhero kind of relationships like that. They are all very individual, and whereas these two, they're two brothers, you know. It's and from opposite sides of you know, the fence, and that's what I find fascinating is the pairing of them rather than the individual.
It's quite rare that actually when you think about it. Yeah, sorry.
You talked about singing and chanting. Chris, do you know the song "If I Had a Hammer"? It's a
Someone mentioned
American
before.
traditional folk song.
No.
I had a hammer.
Wonderful.
Hammer in the morning.
Who sings it? Who is it?
Hammer in the evening.
Really?
All over this
Wow.
land.
That should have been that should be the trailer.
I'd hammer out danger.
There you go.
I'd hammer out a warning. I'd hammer out the love between my brothers and my sisters. Oh,
Wow.
all over this land.
You don't know that?
No, I don't know. I do now. That's burnt in there.
Warm, we say in German.
So is there a Thor musical on the horizon now?
Just talking about
Well,
this,
yeah.
I'm going to come out singing "Sympathy for the Devil" by the Rolling Stones.
A question to both of you, if you could
Yeah.
answer it after another. If you could be a god, like Thor, for one day, so what would you do? Do you have some list, 1, 2, 3?
Oh God, no! I have to work on that list.
Sort of go on a little trip around the world, surely.
Yeah, to fly around the place, have some fun, encourage everyone else to have some fun, sort out all the bad guys. Just give me a list of the villains, and I'll track
What
them down.
if I was Thor? Or if
Yeah, a god, some kind of god for one day with superpowers. So what would you do?
Fly, end all wars. Seems like a good idea. And then start a huge dance party. There you go.
Are there new plans that your characters cross over to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Any what? Sorry.
To Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Not at the moment. Not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
Would you
No.
do it?
I don't know.
See what happens.
Will you play the Huntsman again?
I don't know. We're I'm really booked up for a while anyway. But I haven't heard any official kind of reports on what's happening. I know they were talking about it, and if there's an appetite for one, I'm sure. But I don't know yet.
Are you still playing theatre?
I am. I'll be rehearsing Shakespeare's Coriolanus tomorrow morning in London. Yeah.
Very bloody.
Which theatre?
The Donmar Warehouse. And it opens on December the 6th.
Okay.
Tickets available on the website.
I have an army.